visibility beats ability. If you are really good at what you do and nobody knows about it, my question is, are you really good at what you do?
I've got none other than Omar El-Takori. His videos are all about cameras, hooks, intros, thumbnails, titles, just teaching people the basics and how to get started creating content.
If you can trace back anybody who is well known on an influential standpoint, they all had a focus. It was fitness, it was personal development, it was real estate. And then once you get to a certain place where you build that foundation, then you can kind of expand.
I mean, the thing with business and social media is it's moving so quickly that you think you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And there's the next thing.
That is just a truth that you can hang on to when it comes to marketing your business is everything is beta.
People who watch this are usually entrepreneurs and business people. What's the first thing they need to know about content?
It starts with a...
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Wealthy Way podcast. Today, I have a guy who has helped me tremendously with social media. In fact, he can take credit for everything I've accomplished to this point. I've got none other than Omar El-Takori. What's up?
I agree.
I agree.
No, man,
Royalties, please.
I'm excited. Thanks for having me. Honored, for real.
Yeah. So for the people who don't know you, man, give them a quick intro.
Yeah, my name is Omar El-Takori. I am a content creator. I produce content for a channel called Think Media, led by Sean Cannell. He's been on the show. I'm also a pastor at my church called City Light. And I got a couple cool things going on as far as studio in Las Vegas. I really like helping people kind of get their message out there in a really quality way.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And you got another kid on the way.
Yes, this is the first time I'm announcing it in front of cameras. So
yeah,
turn up. Baby number 2.
Baby number 2. I've got baby number 3.
First try.
There we go, baby.
I don't know how much you had to try, but
dude, truthfully, every time has been like close to first try. So it's been good.
That's fire.
Very, very blessed.
It's different.
Well, when you have
trying.
God, we have God's favor.
Yes. It was, yeah, I think that's what it was. It was an act of obedience. We can go there later, but like, yeah, we just felt God on it. And
as Jordan Feliz once said to me on this show, favor ain't fair.
Yes.
So
he takes credit for that one.
He just told me it. This was the first time I heard it, so I
okay.
give him credit. But nonetheless, I'll tell the story of how I came across you. So, a lot of people, by the way, Omar, he was being very humble. His videos are all about, just teaching people literally the basics and how to get started creating content. And it was like cameras, hooks, intros, thumbnails, titles, all these things you would need. He just puts out free content on all of it. And so what had happened was I was, deciding to do content back in 2020 during the pandemic. And I'm like, all right, I don't even know where to begin. So I went on YouTube and I searched. I don't even know what I searched. I was like, what camera to buy? Because I was like, that's obviously the first thing I need to do is buy a camera. And so Think Media came up, and then I just started watching it. And then, you had some videos, Sean had some videos, and somehow one of you said something about Vegas. And I was like, oh, these guys are in Vegas. Then you guys started talking about faith. And I was like, man, they're talking about faith in a camera video? This is cool. I was like, I wonder what church they go to out here. So anyways, I applied on your guys' website, and I was like, all right, I don't even know what they sell, but just sell me something. I want what you guys are doing. I just don't know where to start. And then, long story short, the sales process, I think, needs to get better. So, because I didn't get sold, and I was ready and willing to spend a lot of money. But we ended up connecting anyways, a few months later. And you came by the office and helped me just get some setups done because I was struggling with our audio and all this other stuff. And, the rest is kind of history. We've done a lot of things in the last few years.
You know what's funny about that underlying within that story is about 2 months before you hit me up, Matt hit me up.
Yeah.
Traeger. And he needed help with some stuff. I was like, dude, you're not too... Literally, I grew up down the street from your offices, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I came down and he was like, hey, have you seen my colleague's stuff? He's actually just started posting out YouTube videos, and that was when he did the California, everybody's leaving. And so I knew of you, and then a couple months later when you got C19, you hit me with the voice memo on a Sunday.
When I got C19?
COVID-19.
Oh. I was like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, and there was the voice memo because that was when you were like, I want to start a podcast. So you had 2 moments where you feel like you felt like something shifted when you were at home just thinking.
Yeah.
The first time it happened in the spring, and that was like, I need to start creating. And then this next time is like, I need
December.
to start. Yeah, December.
Yep. That was when I was like, all right, this social media thing's for sure good.
Yeah.
Like I had achieved a lot in the 6 months.
So cool to see all that has happened, man. Like,
yeah,
look at God, but also commend you, you know, like just locking in and being so convicted that this is something that you felt like you had to do, and you stuck with it and went through all the whatever the hiccups. I remember you told me you wanted to do a Netflix documentary, and so you invested in the camera stuff. Like,
dude, where's our FX8? It doesn't even get used.
Yeah.
I spent like, how much did I spend on this camera? Like,
it was probably like an $15,000 camera.
Dude, 15 grand. It's been used, like, it has dust on it. It's just waiting. It's like, one day we're going to have a documentary. So, yeah, you know, we were actually talking about this before the show, but you were like, hey, the thing that I admire about you is you just literally don't care. You just will try anything. And I was like, I mean, yeah, but I've never thought of it that way. I've just always been like, let's test, let's see what works. And I don't know, you said it better than I did.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's two types of people in business, and there's the type of person that wants it all figured out before they move. And then there's the person that says, let's figure it out as we move. Mm-hmm. And I am a perfectionist. You know, I'm a creative. I want things to look good before anybody sees it. And it's prevented me to even do things that were even in my heart, because I want it to look and sound and be great. And then seeing somebody, you just plowing through and like figuring it out. And you actually get access as being somebody who says, let's step out and then figure it out, step out and find out. You get access to the mistakes even quicker, because I'm not exempt from the mistakes to be made.
You're still going to make them.
I'm still going to make them. And so it benefits one who cares less about, I think there's a level of, you don't care much about what people think, because you know what you're doing and what it's for and the overall good of it.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of selfish nature that I still have in regards to wanting things to be so perfect. And so, yeah, I mean, so in that, like, watching you move is inspiring because of that. You know?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you credit for something you said that was just a good phrase. You said, step out to figure it out. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Step out to figure out?
Pastor Jensen Franklin would say it, step out, then find out, essentially.
Step out to find out.
Yeah.
I like that. So it's not your saying.
No.
Okay.
And I would even say it's not his, because in the Bible, you know, Jesus asked Peter to walk on water. Peter didn't know that the water was going to hold him up.
Yeah. You know what? I was actually using this analogy the other day. I don't want to compare myself to Peter, but it was like, you know, you have people in the Bible who are the people that you were just talking about, like perfectionists and all these things, right? You have doubting Thomas. You have these guys who are like, show me a sign, then I'll do it, right? And so people, that's like how they live their life, whether they're, you know, believers or not. They're like, oh, well, once like everything lines up perfectly, the stars align, and like I get some just divine intervention, then I will do the thing. Yeah. And then there are people like Peter, for those who don't know in the story, like this dude did not think. He was just like, all right, let's go do it.
Right.
I'm going to cut this dude's ear off. I'm going to walk on water and just, you know, sink. I'm going to run to all this stuff. And he just does it. And then he like figures out what happens later. And by result, Peter ended up failing a lot. Like he
100.
looked like an idiot a lot.
But the church was built on Peter.
Yeah, but he ended up being the leader of everyone, because somebody had to be bold,
right,
and take those mistakes.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, if you operate like that, if all you're doing is looking for your next sign, then you'll realize that it'll never be enough, right? And I think this in the context of like a lot of people who come to me and ask my advice for marriage, like, when do I know I'm supposed to marry this person? Well, it's like, I don't know if you'll ever fully know. Yeah, you know. Just if you could know enough, you know, but the thing is even in professionalism in your career, we have this idea of what, you know, accolade or, you know, arrival looks like, and we just find out that you actually never arrive. Yeah, there's always more to it. Like, once you hit that financial number that was your goal, it's like, what's the next goal, you know? Yeah. And so
nobody who hits goals is like ever satisfied. It's just this thing of like, the goal is to complete the goal and get a new goal. Yeah. That's how goal setting works. There's no like, I hit the goal, now goals are no longer a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I would say it like this, that a lot of the times the goal isn't the goal, but reaching is the goal.
Yeah. The journey.
Yeah, not reaching the goal. Yeah. There's a million ways you could say that it's all about the journey and not the destination.
Yeah. Dude, how many more sayings do you have?
I think I just got them locked up. I've read enough books.
I have no sayings. Like, I need to really start trademarking sayings so we can have them.
Dude, you need your isms.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then,
one of the only ones I have is that purpose has to be greater than the cost. So like purpose, greater sign, cost. And it's like the whole thing of that is like, there's a cost to doing anything, right? You want to build wealth, there's a cost. You want to be a great dad, there's a cost. Great husband, believer, build your career. There's always a cost to it. And at the end of the day, you got to understand what that cost actually is. Most people don't. They don't understand the cost.
Yeah.
Jesus said, count the cost.
Right.
And he wasn't saying that like he tried to prep everyone like, hey, this is the cost. The world's going to hate you. You're going to go through all these things, but it's worth it. Yep. The purpose is worth it. And so what I tell people is when they're like, hey, I want to be a millionaire. I want to do this. I want to have 20 properties. I'm like, why? And it's not to be like antagonizing them. It's just like, why? Mm-hmm. And if you don't tell me a good reason why, I know you will not achieve it.
Yep.
Because there's no driving factor that will push you through all of the failure, all of the hard times.
So good.
All of the things. So
yeah,
I have one.
One of the promises that we don't love from Jesus is that you will face you will have trouble in this world, and that's a promise. You want to hold on to a promise, hold on to that.
Yeah.
But knowing that it does set you up to be less disappointed for when those times come or when those costs need to be paid.
You know what? Like, one of the problems is that people in general try to avoid pain, right? Mm. So we try to avoid pain in business, in life, and we don't want to have difficult conversations with people, whether it's our spouse or coworkers or employees. Like, we just want to avoid confrontation and pain. And at no point, right, has the Bible said, yeah, that's the thing to do. Like, this is a pain-free world. There's never going to be strife. And, for me, I just know like pain means progress. We can make that a saying too.
Yes, that's really good.
Yeah.
It's got alliteration on there.
I just made that up. That's the first time I ever said that. But it truly does. Like, you work out, it's painful. Mm-hmm. That's how you get progress. You practice, it's draining. It's how you make progress. Like having difficult conversations with people leads to big progress. Right. Like, when you ignore like issues, nothing's happening.
Yeah. No, a lot of the times resistance is the sign to just keep moving forward, which the natural thing to do is wanting to stop and quit.
Yeah.
But, being sore after a workout, it tells me that it worked.
Yeah.
And it's just a way to think as you approach, many things in life is pain is progress.
Let's talk about this, right? I mean, you've been doing content for a while. You started with Think Media, just teaching basics of all content creation with cameras and equipment and, then like the fundamentals of creating content. I remember one of the first videos I ever saw from you was how to create a thumbnail on IG stories. I don't know if you remember that video. Yeah. Like I was like, oh, he's like just using the font. He's like saving a picture and like, there's a thumbnail. I was like, that's easy. I was like, this guy gets it. And that's what I'm looking for in my life. Mm-hmm. Like the easy way that gets the job done. And, you've given all these tips for anybody who, has no budget at all. You're like, hey, here, this phone can give you everything.
Yeah.
You could film, you can make your thumbnail on it. You could post through it. You don't need anything fancy, right? If you want to get started. And then you say, hey, if you do have capital and you want to invest, here are some things you can do. So, people who watch this are usually entrepreneurs and business people. Like, what's the first thing they need to know about content, you think?
I think it starts with a decision to just start doing it. And that has to come from a deeper place, like you were talking about, like a why.
Purpose.
Because everyone gets their own definition of success. And if you could self-identify that success looks like me stepping into this, because the reality is if you don't realize me making content for my business, it's either going to work or it's going to work, then you're going to give up as soon as you try because I hate the way I look. I hate the way I sound. It doesn't look as good as theirs. But if you realize that this is a means to future-proofing your business and that this is a form of success. You know, like I said, the process, that me stepping into this process. I was talking with a OG realtor here in Vegas who does investing. He's been really doing real estate, and he's built a huge foundation of clientele all through cold calling and door knocking. And he was telling me, he's like, I've built that foundation over time, and now it's fed into itself because people work with me a second, a third, a fourth time. At this point, I don't have to make videos. He's like, but I see how like we're in a time where making videos is doing the cold calls. He's like, I would spend 3 hours a day, every day, Monday through Saturday, doing cold calls. And now I'm realizing, like, rather than doing that, you should just invest that time in making videos, because video is a great multiplier of your time. You become omnipresent when you create a video. You can't be omnipresent with a phone call.
Yep.
And so that's where I think it should stem from. It needs to come from a place of like, okay, I'm deciding that this is what I'm going to do. And then just know that you're going to be in that season of doing for a while, which you did. Like I was talking earlier, like you did it all. Like I saw your house tour.
Yeah.
I saw you interview your wife.
Yeah.
Your wife learned how to edit on Premiere Pro.
Probably from you.
Yeah. You were like, check out this house or this couch flipping business. Like it was all over the place, but you were just committed to doing it. And like we said, step out, find out. You started figuring it out, like, people are resonating with this type of content. Oh, wow, like this is actually working. They're turning into customers. And so, I would say that would just be the first place. That has nothing to do with owning a camera. That has nothing to do with like knowing how to do anything other than the fact that just have this decision that is made to know that this for my business is key.
Hey, if you're looking to grow your real estate investing business, whether you're just getting started trying to get your first deal or you're trying to scale and get to the next level, you need to join us at Wealthy Investor. We've got events every single quarter that are absolutely crazy. We've got online coaching programs where we have Zoom calls, a community every single week. We give you everything you need to know to start your business, scripts, processes, SOPs, all of it. It's for you so that you can dominate. So if you want to learn more about how to join our community and be mentored by me and some of our top coaches and be around other students who are absolutely crushing it, go to wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a free call with my team. Once again, wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a call today. Yeah, I want to talk about the thing you mentioned with cold calling, because I think that's so applicable. And I used to say it early on, but I forgot because, I don't get a lot of guests that we talk just purely on content. So, we're going to we'll make this podcast like a content masterclass. Yeah. So here's the thing for the business people and entrepreneurs. I love that you said, first decision you got to make is like the content's worth it. Like you got to decide in your mind that it's worth it. Now, for anybody who's got a business, right? You're doing whatever you're doing right now to generate leads, and build your brand for your business, right? You're either spending marketing dollars, you're door knocking, you're cold calling, you're doing something to get your customers, right? And it might even just be word of mouth, and you're trying to just do, like, that's not a good way to build a business by itself, right? But that is an element to it. But I always told people, I was like, well, okay, for the realtor, for example, one of the things is like people say, go cold call for 3 hours a day, go hold open houses, go door knock and all this stuff. And it's like, yes, that can make you money. But here's the thing. There are things that basically have like a one-time effect, and then there are things that have lifetime effect. And so, or long-term, let's just call it. So a cold call is a one-time effect. I'm a cold call all day and, I get a deal from it. It's pretty much done. You might get a referral, but for the most part, it's done. Nobody knows who you are still, right? Like it's all done in the shadows. Same thing with door knocking, same thing with open houses. But on the other hand, you do social media, you could still get the same result. You can still be basically cold calling and door knocking. Your cold calls just happen to now be the people who view your video.
Right.
And they're either going to say yes or no based on what you put out in that video. And if you have a good call to action to actually make them convert.
Yeah.
But the only difference is with that video, it's infinitely scalable. At the end of the day, if it's really good, YouTube or whoever else is going to push it, and now it's going to get seen by more people.
Right.
If it's good, you can also run ad dollars behind it. Now it can get seen by even more people, And also, at the end of the day, if you meet somebody new and you want them to know who you are and you want credibility, you can send them the video and say, hey, this is a house we recently sold. This is a little bit about me. Check it out. Like, you want to learn more about me, go on my social media right here and like, at your own free time and get to know me.
It hacks time.
Yeah.
Because you got to do the thing in the middle of the day. If you're in Las Vegas, it's in
I don't meet people for coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was the only way to do it.
Right.
Whereas now it's like, well, why would I go meet people for coffee? Like, why don't I just DM them, build a relationship through the DMs? And now I'm building relationships with 100 people.
Yeah.
And they're now also seeing me daily, not just for coffee. Like, so they know what I got going on.
Yeah. And I think that's such an underrated thing that most people aren't seeing because we can't see your DMs. But like, there's something powerful about engagement that's unseen.
Yeah.
You might put out videos and people get discouraged because it's like, oh, nobody's commenting or liking. But if people see it, they're seeing it. Something's happening. You can't remove that out of my brain. I saw Ryan's video on this house tour, whatever.
Yeah.
And when I'm ready, I'm probably going to DM him. I probably never, and guys, generally speaking, don't actually comment. Girls comment a lot more than guys.
Yep.
There's probably science to that.
Yeah.
Because girls talk more than guys do.
Yep.
But a lot of those connections happen unseen. And so much judgment comes, or even observation comes from outside, just seeing like face value stuff, like what's commenting, or who's commenting, how many likes, when reality, somebody could just literally be watching your content, never engaged, and then they just hit you a DM. Nobody's going to know that they did that. You know? And you mentioned about being visible. There's this saying, it's visibility beats ability. It's the world we live in. If you are really good at what you do and nobody knows about it, my question is, are you really good at what you do?
Right.
And obviously that pendulum could swing the other way where, you have fakes that putting out content and everyone's a coach and a thought leader.
Yeah.
But let the internet decide, let the community decide on that. But there are so many people that are really good at what they do and they have so much credibility, and just turning on a camera could do so much for them.
You know what's interesting? Like, there is this narrative of like, there's a lot of fakes and all this stuff, but I actually don't know that that's the case. I think that used to be what the internet was, because back in the day, you had all these digital marketers, and so they're running all these ads, and they're the only ones who really understood it. People being content creators weren't really a thing, and so there's all this, it was just tough. Today, in this climate, I know for a fact, a lot of those digital marketers are out of the game because they could not compete, because now there's guys like me and you and, legitimate guys making real good content that people want to watch. It's not an ad. And, it's like, how do you compete?
Yeah.
If I'm selling the same product and I'm putting out really good content, you are not going to compete.
Yeah. No, and that's where, like, in any business, let the market decide.
Yeah.
The market will decide. People can feel that. People can feel like, oh, they care about this. This is what they're about. This is what they think about.
Yeah.
And that resonates when people watch, a podcast or even just a 20-second clip.
Yeah.
There's something to that for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there are always going to be people scamming on the internet or off the internet. Like, that's the world. But this whole idea of like the fake guru and stuff, that, in my opinion, that used to be a thing. I just don't really see it anymore. I think it's this fake thing in people's minds.
The beauty of social media and online content is that it rewards the uniqueness of the creator.
Yeah.
So if you are starting out from if you are teaching level 2 and 1 and you're a level 3, and then there's somebody that's level 10, they're teaching 9 and 8 or whatever, there's room for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. It's funny because I was just literally in Grant Cardone's office yesterday, filming with him. And it's like, he's
what a flex of a sentence, but it's okay. Keep going.
Yeah. There we go.
Breeze through it.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just telling my life.
No, 100.
And this is what, this is
shot with Forbes 2 weeks ago. It's all good. Or whatever. Documentary for Netflix. Let's get it.
We did do that. Yeah. So I'm going to Cabo next week, but nonetheless, but that's part of like documenting your life, right? Yeah. And it's like, you cannot fake that. It's just, that's how you build credibility, right? Doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
Not by talking about cool stuff, but by doing good stuff. But anyways, so with Grant, everybody is always, not everybody, but like there are internet people who hate him, right? They're just like, this guy's a scam. He's doing this, he's doing that. And it's like, that's like everyone's version of a fake guru today. And it's like, I don't know, dude. I was just in his office. There was like 150 people working there. I literally saw a building that said 10X that was a giant high rise, like on a main street. People were there, like living in it, and it's like, looks pretty real to me.
Legit question.
Okay.
There's no judgment in it.
Okay.
What about Grant resonates with you?
What resonates? Man, dude, I try to take bits and pieces from everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't fully agree with everybody. I don't fully disagree with, like, I just take what's applicable to me. So when I look at a guy like Grant, I look at a guy who's had longevity. I mean, the dude's been doing it for a really long time. I look at a guy who's, you know, he's getting older now. I mean, he's in his 60s, and he still is hustling like a 30-year-old. Like, it just, he's not tired at all. I look at a guy who's, you know, usually ahead of trends and curves and things that are happening. You know, he's not reactive. He's like proactive. And then I look at, like, we have a lot of similarities. I mean, he's in real estate. I'm in real estate. We're both on social. We both got lots of businesses. You know, if I look at my career, I look at it, I'm like, all right, he's a guy who's most similar to me, at least in the business side of things.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, it's been cool to see that evolve, you know, and that relationship, you know, it's really cool.
Well, speaking of that, so, you know, to go back to like content creation, you know, first thing is make the decision. Okay. I'll answer what I think is part two. And this is what Grant told me, is that I think the next thing is once you decide, you now have to commit to being consistent. And, you know, on Grant's show, he was like, you know, here's how I came about you. You know, I'm on my Instagram feed and, you know, I see this guy talking about stuff. He's got different color hair and, you know, whatever else. And I'm like, so by the way, the hair works. Okay.
Just so everybody knows.
Just so everybody knows, I'm going to dye it again. But nonetheless, he goes, and I thought it was good. I was like, all right, this guy, he's got good stuff to say. Cool. He's like, and then I saw you again. Then I saw you again. And then he's like, I kept seeing you. He's like, and then I knew you were committed. Like, I knew you were serious about this. And like, I respect that. He's like, because I there's lots of people who just come and go. And he's like, obviously that's what's got you to this point. You've stayed consistent for years, like, you know, and you're going to continue to do that. And for me, it wasn't even like a question of whether or not I was going to be consistent.
Right.
You know, like I came from playing pro baseball where it's like, I don't have the luxury of just not working out for 2 weeks. You know,
right.
I don't have the luxury of just going on bingers and not eating right and all this stuff. All the most like consistent baseball players are the ones who just have the same routine day in and day out. It's boring, it's monotonous, it's hard, but that's what success looks like. And then I saw business people, you know, there'd be business people. They got all these highs. Oh, the market's good, freaking this. And then they have lows.
Yeah.
And there's no consistency. It's always like this. And then I just watched my business career. It was just always like, I'm going to do the same things day in and day out. I'm going to film my content. I'm going to get increment better every day at hiring, at marketing. There was no like massive leap for me. It's just like, dude, if you get 1% better every day, it just starts going.
It's consistency. If it's just because it's not sexy, it's hard to be received, and it's the long game. You know, what you see is fruit of the little things, the fruit of the day in and day out of the grind. And I think one of the greatest brand builders is consistency. When people think about you, do they attribute a characteristic to being consistent? It's kind of one of the biggest characteristics that we can actually get from God, being God's the same yesterday, today, and forever, is actually consistency. It's probably the best, you know, compliment that you can ever get. Is hey man, you're consistent. You do what you say what you do. I know it's funny because we congratulate people who start something. We love doing that.
Yeah.
And then when somebody ends a thing, we congratulate it. But nobody's saying, hey man, I just realized that you've just been locked in, bro. It's funny. It doesn't get celebrated. And so therefore we don't reward consistency often, but it's definitely one of a characteristic that anyone would need in life to succeed.
100%. So I think that's like the biggest thing. Once you commit, all right, like build a plan that you know you can keep consistent. So like when I first started, I remember I go, hey, I'm gonna make 2 YouTube videos a week. That's what I can commit to and be consistent with my time. I'm gonna do 2 YouTubes, 1 TikTok. And so I did that for like a month. I was like, all right, how's this going? You know, I'm getting the hang of it. I'm getting better. Like the results are looking pretty good. I go, all right, let's step up.
But it was good that you got feedback because you were posting.
Yeah.
So because you committed to consistency, it actually rewarded you with feedback.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I always tell people this too. When it comes to content, it's always quantity over quality. Like, you cannot get quality without producing quantity. Yeah. You need reps.
Yes.
And so I knew that. I was like, all right, if I put out this much content over time, I'm not saying this is as much as I'm going to put out forever, but I do need to put out this much to understand and get feedback, get better, whatever. So I do that for like a month or two, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty locked in now. I can go to 3. So I go to 3 YouTube videos. And then I'm like, all right, I'm doing this pretty good. I'm getting the hang of it. Let's go 4. Let's go 5. Eventually I went 1 per day. Yeah. I was like, let's try it. Then I went to 2 TikToks per day. I'm like, let's just push the envelope and see, right? And then, you realize, okay, 7 YouTube videos is too much for me. Which is ironic because we still do like 7 right now. Yeah, but
it's just a smarter workflow.
Right. The team can do that, but me personally filming 7 new videos every week, not going to happen.
Yep.
Right? So, I tested everything, and I committed to new consistency levels as I got stronger, as I got better, as I got more resources. And then I tested, and I said, dude, did I get any extra output by all this extra input? No. All right, well, why are we doing this? I don't need to keep doing this then. Let's scale back and try it, this way now. Yep. So then I try, hey, let's try 3 a week, but like high quality. So we tried that for a few months. Then I'm like, let's try just podcast. Let's try vlogs. I'm always willing to try and adapt. And I mean, the thing with business and social media is it's moving so quickly that you think you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And there's the next thing.
And I think that is just a truth that you can hang on to when it comes to marketing your business is everything is beta.
Yeah.
Like
you're always in beta.
It is a matter of fact, or there is a key to, yes, we are going to commit to always testing, always trying, but just be okay. Like, we're all trying to figure it out. That's what's funny is like, even as someone who like teaches this stuff, it's hard to just make definitive things. And so when people say, how many uploads should I be doing this week? I'm like, well, what's your life look like? Like, what can you commit to? And that's what you said. You determine your level of consistency, because for some it could be 5, for some it's 1 a month, and that's okay. Yeah. But just stick to it.
I don't think that's okay, but
yeah, I mean,
you're just not going to have success with 1 a month. I mean, I'm just being real.
I'm just trying to be encouraging.
I'm not. I'm trying because look, it goes back to purpose has to exceed the cost. So like, if you do 1 a month, you literally will have no success. I would rather you just not do anything personally. So like, let's be realistic with, hey, okay, what can I commit to? And then maybe I say 1 video a week. I would personally say, okay, you want to do 1 podcast, 1 video. You can totally do well doing that, right? And then I'll say, how many TikToks and shorts you want to do? I don't know. A couple a week? I'll be like, okay, so what's the metric we're going to hit here? Okay, you're going to do 3 short form videos a week and 1 long form. Cool. Don't miss a week.
Yep.
Literally, you better do it every week. And make sure you commit like on a day at which those are going to be posted and a time. Because what will happen is you're like, okay, I'll post 1 a week. I don't know what day it's going to be and whatever. Whenever it gets done, it gets done. It's like, no. Every Wednesday at 2:00, I post.
Yep.
And then you're going to build your
That's really good. Yeah, that's really good insight, because if you just put that on paper and you make that the goal, then you weed out whatever's in the way.
Yep.
And for some people, they feel like it needs to be edited. Well, if the goal is to just get an upload, what are some ways you can can you remove editing altogether? Can it just be shot? Just get it up there, get the feedback. You know? I have a friend. She used to work at Think Media, as Heather Torres.
Yep.
And I remember before she started making videos, she took a season to just post on Snapchat for 30 days in a row, and it was something that just she needed to see herself on camera and see what she was like. And I don't like my voice, and get over it for that season, but. That's really good. That's really good insight to just lock in 1 upload a week.
Yeah.
3 short form.
Yeah. And by the way, I didn't say that because it's just some random number. I think that is the minimum. Mm-hmm. Like if you were to ask us what we teach at Wealthy Creator and what, so like Wealthy Creator, for those who don't know, is our coaching program for entrepreneurs on social media. So like, we're really all about like short form and podcast. I think those are the 2 verticals to focus on. And if you were to ask me what's the minimum schedule an entrepreneur should like pursue, I'd say at least 3 short form and 1 podcast if possible. Or like at Pineda Media, one thing we do is just one short form daily. And so people are like, oh, well, that's a lot of work. But it's like, nah, not really. I mean, with our team, right, like we'll literally film with you on the short form and we'll post it for you. We'll do everything for you. And it's like 3 hours a month of work on your, like everyone can commit to 3 hours. Like, come on, dude.
No,
now, now that like they're combined in our offerings, because like it's cool that we're going to do it all for you at Pineda Media, but you also still need to learn and build the foundation. You got to always be a student of the game.
Right.
Right? Like, it's just never, it's not like taxes where, you know, at TrueBooks, we'll just do your taxes for you and it's done. You don't need to learn taxes. It's nice to like know taxes, but at the end of the day, you don't need to learn how to file them and all that stuff. Content, if you're actually going to be the one filming, you need to learn how to think the right way while you're doing it.
And identifying as a student, when you self-identify as a learner, a student, a disciple, you begin to see how things are done more than what you're watching, you know, like, or how what you're watching is not as important as how it's being delivered. And it just helps. It helps you grow, because now you're a bit more cognizant. Oh, I noticed that they switched this up. Like, there's just those nuances that you get over time. But that's really empowering. And what's cool about the podcast route is that you can strategically get those short form clips from the podcast.
100%. Yeah. Right. Like if you were to film one podcast for an hour, I mean, we can go get you 3-4 clips out of it, right? There's your 3 for the week.
Pretty good.
Yeah. And Pineda Media will do it all for you. PinedaMedia.com. But, you know, like at the end of the day, I like podcasts because it gives people a chance to really know you. And in the business space, right? Like, you know, first off, we go back to purpose has to exceed cost. What's the purpose of creating content? I mean, look, at the end of the day, for most people, it's going to be some monetary thing. You're like, hey, this is going to be good for my business. This is going to be good for that. And then obviously, too, right along there, if you can help people with your content and make an impact, amazing, right? So how do you go about defining like what success looks like and everything else? Well, it's like, for me, I knew going into creating content, I was like, you know what? My goal initially is to be the most known house flipper on social media. If I can do that, I know good things are going to come.
It's really good.
Wherever. And so that was it. I was like, I'm completely focused on just owning this niche, at least to start out. I'm not worried about all these other things I got going on. Let's just own this. What do you think about that?
I definitely think, you know, the word niche is obviously in our industry and even our context is kind of, every time somebody hears it, they're like, it's because we equate niche to limiting. Like, I'm gonna limit myself, but you know, a word that we're starting to replace with niche is the word focus. That's your focus. Yeah. And if you can trace back anybody who is well known on an influential standpoint on social media, on YouTube, they all came from a focus. They all had a focus. It was fitness. It was, you know, personal development. It was real estate. But like, and then once you get to a certain place where you build that foundation, then you can kind of expand. Yeah. You know, and do other things, because that foundation is so big. Even though you were focused, there's so many types of individuals because you're the guy for X. Yeah. And then that's where you could spin off. And in that pool of people, there's probably someone that would resonate to do media and to invest in content, even though content wasn't the thing. Yeah. You know, but that is the trajectory. That's a pattern that I've seen time and time again from people we deem OGs now, or people who've been doing it a long time. You can always trace it back to a focus.
Yeah. That's, for me, the same. Do I do that much house flipping content anymore? No. Yeah. You know, we're talking about content creation now. You know, the podcast, I'll bring, you know, real estate investors on and stuff, but by no means is like a house flipping channel or show. Now, I'm still a beast house flipper, just so for anyone who doesn't think that somehow I forgot. Brian DeVilla actually reminded me this of yesterday. He's like, bro, your house flipping company does $400,000 a month and you don't even talk about it.
It's wild.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe I take it for granted just because I've had it. It's boring. Yeah. It's just consistent. It's been that way for a while. And, you know, it's like, I've always got some shiny new thing that I'm talking about that's super exciting to me. Right. And then like, I fall guilty of
That's really good though. I mean,
Yeah.
because you say that, I'm like, dang, 300-400, that's pretty tight, dude. I don't have to think about it. When's the last time you held a meeting to get that? You know, it's just happening.
It just happens.
Put things in place. Dude, it speaks to your leadership, man. You're a great leader. You know, you're a great leader, you're a great communicator, and people want to follow you. And that's not just on the social media standpoint of things. It is on a human. I want to be connected. I want to know you. I want to be in the room. I want to work for you. That is something.
How do you think somebody develops that?
You know, I mean, I would say the first cop-out answer is I think it comes with a level of care, a humility. You know, like you don't have to build and hire all these people. You could, but there's a level of humility that you demonstrate to allow people access to you and in your world. And you know, your Bible, another consistent thing, your Bible study you've done before Ryan Pineda was Ryan Pineda, you know, like you were just locked in, and that's grown to other things. I think it just comes from a place that you just care, man. Like, there's a scripture where Jesus says, you know, or it says, Jesus looked into the multitudes and compassion filled his heart. And something I've learned is that compassion has no preference. You know, a lot of the times though, we can attribute a certain people group or a certain individual where we can like not share that compassion. But the reality is the type of compassion I think that God gives is one that no matter who you are, you know, I'm here to help and serve you.
Yeah.
And so the Bible says, if you want to be the greatest, you better be the best servant. Be the greatest servant, and I'll make you the greatest.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Those who will be first must be last.
Yeah. It's kingdom paradigms. It makes no sense. It's backwards.
Yeah. You want to, so that is always my cop-out answer too. People are like, okay, you know, how do you become a good leader? Like, what book should I read? I was like, the Bible. They're like,
it's a great leadership book.
Well, yeah. And they're like, okay, but like, what else? And I'm like, they're like, what are some of the leadership books you've read? I go, I've literally never read one. I haven't.
That's crazy.
You were talking about like John Maxwell before, and I didn't say it back there, but I was like, you know, this would be kind of like embarrassing to say because I always reference him sometimes, but I've never read one of his books. And I've read a lot of books. I don't know. I personally have never felt the need to read leadership books because like I just follow what the Bible tells me. I'm like, if I'm just a servant, if I love people, if I try to act with integrity, if I'm bold, people are going to respond to that. Like, what else is there to do? I don't need to like learn like, okay, this is how I have to have a meeting with this guy.
Yeah.
And these are the things that need to happen like on, I don't even know what a leadership book would look like.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think because when it becomes a check off the box thing, then it's not genuine.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in the same way, I personally, it's so bad to say because now you're like, I've never read a leadership book, but you just told me I'm a great leader. A lot of people tell me I'm a great father, I'm a great husband. I have not read a marriage book or a parenting book. I think it's intuition, and you know, we can go there, but you know, we both have the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And Jesus said he's going to lead us and guide us into all truth.
Yeah.
So we don't have to always consume all the information. There's a level of like, you know, God with us, Emmanuel, that there's, you know, you sense it. It's just, it comes natural. There are some cases where I have read books. Like I've read books on communication, reading John Maxwell's book, 16 Laws of Communication.
Yeah.
But shout out to John Maxwell that you know of him, you know, he's a leadership guy and you didn't even have to read his books.
100%.
It's kind of like there's like these.
It's good branding.
Yeah. These levels to it, but he's been an OG in the game and
consistency.
Yeah, for real.
How long has John Maxwell just been doing it? Day in and day out.
Decades, legit decades.
Literally decades. Writing books, doing events, and that's why you know who he is.
Yep, 100.
So, going back to this content thing, you know, what would you say to somebody? This is a common thing I hear, is they say, well, what if I'm just getting started, like in my business? Like well, yeah, you can talk about all this stuff because you have authority.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I always say, I'm like, well, you can still get started. Here's why. And then I always say, and then I also get people who are like very successful people and they suck on social.
Sure.
Right. So there's no excuse either way.
Right. No, I have become more empathetic to people starting to create content and it started from my wife getting her real estate license in the fall.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
so she's a beginner.
She's a beginner. I'm like, babe, you're gonna make videos. I'm Omar El-Takori, the video guy. You're gonna make videos.
She's like, no, I don't know what to talk about.
She's like, how the heck?
Yeah.
Like, what do I even? And I think there's a good place, a good rule of thumb. If you don't know what to talk about, just talk about what you do know. What does she know? She knows fun things to do in the city with Ruby. Like she posted a reel about Home Depot every first Saturday of the month, free arts and crafts.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then a reel popped off. But then on her bio, it says that she's a Las Vegas real estate agent. So all she did was talk about what she knew and lean into that. Nobody's asking you to fake it. And so when I say if you don't know what to talk about or you don't feel like you have the credibility, just invite people on the journey. So Amanda was showing someone at the church a house recently, a first-time home buyer, and I'm like, babe, why don't you post anything about it? Post about you're like showing homes, like invite people into the journey. That's not sharing game. That's not telling the best practice to buy your first flip, or it's just invite people onto that journey. So experiences, no one could take that from you, So that's what I would lean into. Talk about what it is you do know. If there's, and then people will find a connection. What do you do know? You do know that watches work really well and then as people, I get a DM from a friend who will DM me every time your watch reel comes on, and he's like my weekly or quarterly reminder that I need to get this Rolly. Just every time it comes up, he sends me the DM.
That's funny, dude.
But yeah, just stick to what it is you do know, and over time you'll be able to share those insights of something you figured out. If you just figured out something, share that you just figured out.
Yeah. So. No, look. So I'm always talking about like new experimental stuff, right? So it's like, whether it's my NFT with Tykes and like really, I'm like, have I like accomplished that yet or anything? Like, no one has. It's like a whole new thing.
Right.
All these AI people, there's not these AI experts.
Oh man,
they're all new.
Right.
They're all like testing ChatGPT too. They're just trying to figure it out, but they're sharing it. They're getting views. They're saying, hey, I figured out this new way to use this tool. Like, it's pretty cool. I think it might help somebody. And so like they figure it out. We're looking at all these new different businesses with Pineda Partners, and like one is going to be a food franchise. And I'm like, do I have food franchise experience? No.
Yeah.
Am I going to do what we talked about earlier, where I'm going to step out and just figure it out? Yes. That's going to happen. Am I going to make mistakes? Yes.
Yeah.
Am I going to pay the price for those? Yes. Is there a big reward for getting past them? Yes. So, at the end of the day, we're all beginners at some new point of our life. Now, here's the thing, right? The more success you do have in like other things, it does give you credibility,
100.
right? So it's like all the things I've done up to this point give me credibility for people to trust me on the next new thing.
Yes.
And, you might be looking at it and being like, oh, well, I don't really have that many successes in my life. You do. You've achieved things.
You figured things out.
You've accomplished things in your life that have been successful. Okay. And I mean, truthfully, I'll tell you a funny story. Back in 2015, when I first started flipping houses, I flipped my very first house. I made $25,000. It was crazy. I was like,
dang,
dude,
I got more on my first flip than you. That's tight.
How much did you make?
30.
Dang, this guy. Well,
but I had to split it with somebody, so it was really 15. Go ahead.
Well, then I made more.
Yeah, okay.
I made 25. Me. So, anyways, I flipped the first house, and dude, honestly, I was like, dude, I'm pretty much like the best house flipper of all time. Like, this is crazy that I just did this. And I remember I was like, all right, somebody's like, you should go to real estate meetups and stuff. And I'm like, okay. So I'd be like going to the real estate meetups, and in my mind, like now I'm working on flip number 2 and stuff. And I'm like, I'm in my mind rolling. For other people, they would go into that room thinking, oh dude, like I'm just getting started. Like I haven't done anything yet. And I don't know if this just means I'm just like cocky or overly confident, but I remember being in that room like, yeah, dude, like I'm gonna eat everyone's lunch and I'm already like so far ahead of like so many of these people, because truthfully I was.
Yeah.
Most people who go to a meetup have done 0.
Right.
So like I already knew like I was doing things, and then there's people who've done a lot and they're far ahead of me. And it's not like I'm like, oh yeah, those guys suck. I'm just like, all right, cool. Like they're at their point. I'm at my point. These people are behind me at this point. I was very aware of where I was, but like I was also extremely confident in where I was in the journey. You know, by the time I got to 10, I thought I was really good. By the time I got to 100, I thought I was extremely good. You know, because I remember when I wrote my first book, Flip Your Future, I had just like completed my 100th flip.
Wow.
And I remember I was thinking in my mind, because Russell Brunson was the one who influenced me to write the book. He was like, you're an expert. You're an expert. People want to hear what you know. And I was like, I don't know, dude. Am I really qualified to write a book on flipping houses? Like 100 isn't a lot. You know, at the end of the, like, I don't know everything about flipping houses. And then like, I just remember breaking that belief and I'm like, dude, I flipped 100 houses. You know how many people have flipped 100 houses? Like 0.001%. I was like, okay, I am qualified to write this book and I'm not going to act like I'm something I'm not.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I flipped 100 homes. Here's how I do it. And it's like, if you think that qualifies me, then read the book. If you think that's not enough, don't read the book.
Yeah. No, put it on the people to decide. And
yeah,
I mean, if in that book you're talking about how to do 1,000 and you're speaking beyond, those things, but no, you did the thing.
Yeah.
And then you shared what you did.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. Dude, there's moments where I get discouraged about video and what is the thing? And I'm like, dude, I ain't nothing, bro. And then I look at receipts.
Yeah.
I have produced over 300 and something very high quality YouTube videos that concept to completion, brand deals, brand integrations, ad reads, thinking about what people need, like different budget. Like, no, dude, like no one could take that away from you. You know, I think it's just the comparison game sometimes. It steals. Comparison's the thief of joy. And, self-awareness. You said it. Well, you were self-aware enough to realize what you just did.
Yeah. Like I knew flipping one house was a really big deal.
It's huge.
Yeah, I was like, bro, I'm not like looking at these other guys who are way far ahead. I'm like super excited that I flipped a house. Now, when I had not flipped any, I was still also confident that I was going to flip, but like I wasn't like walking around like I was hot stuff. I'm like, yeah, I haven't done it yet, but it's coming.
Yeah. Dude, that's encouraging. Now I'm gonna go write a book. Was it Expert Secrets by Russell?
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually just reread that book last month.
Wow.
Because it had been 5 years, and I was like, you know what? This book like kind of started all this stuff. Let me reread it and see how I did. How did I end up executing this book based on what I thought then to what I see now? And
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What would be like three other Expert Secrets, foundational business, thought-provoking, personal development books that you look back on, you're like, dang, that actually did shift the way I thought about something.
Yeah, Expert Secrets was one. I mean, there's a lot, man. So like, I'm just thinking back to like the early days, since we're talking about people just getting started. I mean, Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about some things you just don't realize with real estate and everything. You're like, okay, that's cool. I even think reading Cardone's was interesting. I reread 10X Rule last year because it'd been like 5 years. I was like, I wonder like what I think of it was basically like, I wonder what I think about these books that kind of like fired me up back then to where I'm at today. And it was funny because he was talking about the same things. Like that book was published in 2010.
Wow.
And I read it in like 2015 or something. And back then he was basically like, yeah, I'm gonna post on Twitter like every day. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to use Facebook. I'm going to use Twitter. I'm going to just go all in and make content. This dude's talking about it in 2010.
Wild.
And he was like, people don't get it. He's like, you got to put in 10 times more of the volume and effort to achieve your goals than you think. And he's like, so instead of 1 tweet a day, 10 tweets a day. And it was like, wow, that's what it takes to be successful. And then like, now you look at what that did for him over a 10-year time horizon, from there, when he wrote that book in 2010, I mean, he kind of alludes to it, but he wasn't worth a lot. Like, he might have been like, I don't know. He was probably a multimillionaire, but definitely, like, I don't think he was worth over $10 million. I think he was probably a couple $1 million,
wow,
whatever. And he's writing this book about being successful. And then, like, he just really believed it. And
dude, I remember 2015, just like, I was shooting and editing for Sean, and like, his show was something that he had a show. Grant Cardone had a show that he did with a co-host, and they would just talk business. They would talk real estate, and it's funny like looking back, like they've been doing it, bro. You know, no, that's really
consistency.
Cool. Yeah, but I think there's something there about like going back to the books that. Because like now that you've maybe implemented something that actually happened with Alex's book for me. I didn't get it the first time I read it, even though he writes at a third grade level. But you know, it's because I never created an offer personally myself.
Yeah.
So it didn't really like resonate. And then I actually put an offer out there for the first time in my life.
Yep.
Read it again a couple years later. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's crazy how it illuminates like a lot of things when you just go back.
And there's a lot of books like that you don't get it the first time. So another, this made me realize another book I read that was super important was Traction. So Traction is about how to build a business and organize and build operating systems. So, it's the foundation of the EOS operating or entrepreneur operating system. And there's Rocket Fuel is the sequel. But I read EOS or I read Traction in 2018 for the very first time. My friend Carlos Reyes recommended it. I was like, all right, I'll read it. I read through it, and I'm like, I ain't doing this. And seriously, that was my first reaction because it was like, yeah, you got to have an org chart. You got to have this. People need to be accountable. And I was like, dude, I just made $1 million like without any of this crap. That's where my mind was at. And then I ended up losing money, and people were like, acting fools. And I was like, maybe I need this stuff. And so it took me about 1.5 years later that I finally came to the realization that I needed it. And, I ended up hiring a business coach, Gary Harper, who's now, with us at Wealthy Business. And we actually implemented it. It took like 1.5 years. And then I was like, yeah, I understand why it was an important book.
That's really cool. I mean, I'm so interested in your, like, it's not, I don't want to ask the wrong question in regards to like, why do you just keep achieving or wanting more? Because I know it's deeper than that, but you're definitely not the type of person who wants a slim bit, like just a slim business. You want to hire, you want to scale. Why? I mean, because I learned from people who just, that's what they preach. Keep it slim. You only need one VA. Like whatever,
Yeah. So let's talk about this. Before I get to the why, let me tell you the problems of what happens at each level since I've, gone through it. So what starts off as a solopreneur, you do your thing and you're making money and, whatever, right? At the end of the day, when you're a solopreneur, you're not really a business owner. You just have a job.
Right.
It's like when I was flipping houses by myself, it's great. I was making
employed yourself.
Yeah, I was making great money, but the moment I stopped doing it,
right.
It's done. Right? Realtors are this way, content creators are this way. Yep. That's the first level. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that, hey, even if you do it well, if you never progress beyond this, you're done. You will stop making money.
Yeah.
So you decide, hey, let me grow this team a little bit bigger. So, you go lean because you don't really know what you're doing yet. And you don't have enough volume of things needing to get done. So you hire an assistant. Maybe you hire a sales guy or a marketing guy, right? You're not like hiring a COO right now. You're just trying to like figure it out. So that's what I did. I ended up hiring a project manager. I hired, a listing agent. Then I hired a couple sales guys. And so like my house flipping business grew to like a team of 5. So we were lean, right? And that was the first time I made 7 figures in a year. And I was like, man, okay, like this is good.
Wow.
And I was also doing less. Like I wasn't working as much. I was actually still coaching high school baseball.
Wow.
People don't even know this, but like in 2017, was it 2017? 2016 might have. Yeah, 2016 was the first year. I moved near Spring Valley, and I was still playing pro baseball, but it was the off season, and I'd moved right next to the high school. I don't even know why, but I think it was the Holy Spirit just like telling me to do it. And it was like, you know what? He's like, Ryan, you need to just go help them, because I would drive by it every day to school. And I was like, I don't even know anyone there, like anything, like, but whatever. I don't even know who I reached out to or how I got their number, but I just called up the head coach and I was like, hey, my name's Ryan. Like, I've been a pro baseball player for like 6 years. I live by you. I don't want anything from you, but I would love to help you guys coach. And I'll do whatever you need me to do, whatever. And he's like, yeah, we'd love to have you. And so I literally had to jump through like a million hoops because you got to go get registered with the district and do these background checks and all this. Because he was like, but it's a lot of work. You can't just come out like maybe like what you thought.
Yeah.
You got to go through
this
all
ain't the
this.
little leagues, bro.
Yeah. In my mind, I was like, yeah, so I'll show up tomorrow and like let's roll. And so, anyways, I did all this stuff. I become a coach and just start, coaching these kids. I'm throwing batting practice. I'm, hitting ground balls. I'm out there with them, fielding and stuff. And then as it got closer to time for me to leave to go play, I then start practicing and and then they freaking love it, dude. They're just like, dude's hitting bombs, just freaking, So, dude, it was such a fun time. And even a lot of those kids to this day, I still keep in touch with.
That's
so this was
cool.
in 2016.
Yeah.
And then 2017, I did it again and played. But, 2017, or no, sorry, that was 2017, first year. 2018, I did it again. And this was the first year I flipped over 100 homes and made 7 figures. So I was coaching, I was playing, I was flipping, I was just doing it all. And, wait, was that? No, I was done playing in 2018, but I was still coaching. And I ended up, having a blast doing it. And, it was just a good time. But here's the thing. I would have never been able to enjoy doing that if I didn't have, the business. I would like practice was literally from 2 to 5. Mm-hmm. And so I'd leave the office and go to practice every day at like 1:30. So, my team would still handle the deals. We still, did over 7 figures and it was great. And then, going 2019, 2020, I realized I'm like, well, this is great, but I'm never satisfied where I'm at. Like, I want to get to the next level. What's the next level look like? So I start hiring coaches and mentors and all these things. And they start explaining like, okay, well, this is what the next level is. You got to spend more on marketing. You're going to need more sales. Like, it's just more.
Wow.
It's not that you need to start a new business. It's just you need more of what you do. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. So I get better at hiring. I get better at these skills. Then I kind of like master the process of like what running a business is like. And I'm like, I wonder if I could do this like with other businesses.
There's a pattern.
Yeah. So I start, really going hard on my education company, my tax company. I'm like, it's the same. It's literally the same thing. We just, we have a product, we have to market it, we have to sell it, and we have to fulfill on it. That's it. That's the business. And that became the foundation for everything, where it was like, all right, well, let's grow the existing. And then when there's an opportunity, let's add a new vertical. And so that's all I've done up to this point. The last 3 years is just like, I'm opportunistic to what's available. And then I'm also trying to make what we currently have better. And then I'm also pruning things away that no longer make sense. It was like my brokerage had 200 agents. It was like, it's cool. It was making money, but it was like, it no longer makes sense with what we have going on. So
that's cool. What I love that what you mentioned is that the business afforded your ability to be able to like coach these kids.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm seeing as somebody who's also in ministry and who my business affords me to be able to serve at a high level and give big is how awesome business is, and like how powerful it actually is that it gives you that ability to do so.
Yeah, 100%. So like, to tie it all together, everything to this point, now we got over 100 employees and
Crazy.
like, I don't know where we'll be in 5 years. It'll probably be over 1,000 employees if I had to really guess. And it's not that like I'm trying to get to 1,000 employees or like I'm trying to be huge. It's just like, I don't really have a choice. Mm-hmm. It's just like the way it's being built, that is going to be what happens. The way that the people and the culture that we've brought in of like growth, that's what's going to happen. Nobody here's like, yep, let's just be stagnant and chill and content with the status quo and like try to keep the ship where it's at. everybody's like, let's freaking push the ship as fast as humanly possible to the destination, which we don't even know where the destination is. We're just trying to push through it. We're like Columbus. We're just like, whatever happens, happens. And, you know, I think for me, what's the whole why of all of this? It's a tough question to answer because, of course, there's the faith element of it. And, you know, the faith element of it is if I make more money and build more businesses, two things happen. One, I can give more. Two, I can, you know, impact my employees who then impact our customers. Yep. You know, if I grow my social media, it gets the word out. You know, we can spread the gospel. We can do so many things, right? So it's like more equals more lives changed.
Yes.
Absolutely. Two, I mean, even from a selfish standpoint, you know, having nice things is nice. Yeah. You know, like when you talk about the watch and like whatever, like it's tight having nice things. It's cool going on cool vacations. Like it's for people who don't, you know, for my frugal people who don't care about any of that stuff, go try and enjoy some stuff and then come back to me.
No, you challenge me. Just try it, dude. Fly private. Eat fancy. Like, just see what happens, you know? Like, I've always been a frugal kind of guy, even as my income has grown.
Yeah.
And I would attest to it, you know, like, just, there's something about it. And then how you say that sometimes it rewards you to be in those, you know, environments or rooms or what have you.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't, it's what...
If you still enjoyed it.
It's like how it makes you feel. I remember I bought my first pair of designer shoes. It was a pair of boots from Saint Laurent.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, dude. I just remember putting those on. I was like, bro, I'm the man, dude.
I feel good.
And that did something, you know, that just does something.
Didn't you get a Rolex?
I did. Last year, I got a nice little piece, and it's great. I love it. Reminds me of so much looking at it. I also like, you know what's funny about, like, investing in nice things, too, is a lot of times they hold their value.
They do.
So then it's actually like, you're actually making or save. It's a savings account or
however you want to look at it.
However you want to look at it.
You can go sell it tomorrow and be fine.
Yeah. So that's what's funny. I've even learning how like supercars even increase in value. People are like
100%.
You got to be so rich to buy a supercar. Well, it's like, well, it's just a place to put your money.
Yeah, I got a lot of buddies who they pre-order supercars, they drive them for a few months, they flip them, make money.
It's crazy.
And they had a supercar. They got to enjoy it. I'm like, that's good business.
Yeah, no, the nice things is that's real.
Yeah. But I'll also say, so like, basically two things happen once you go big, okay? One is, you know, with more money comes more just opportunities and options, right? It's like, you know, the fact that you can do ministry and it doesn't have to be your full-time job or anything else, like, because you have income over here, that's a beautiful thing. That's what options are. You know, I get a lot of pastors who don't have that. They DM me all the time and they're like, bro, like I'm thinking about wholesaling. I'm thinking about this because I'm making $30,000 a year over here and like it's not enough. So like they don't have options, you know? So they're trying to figure it out, which is, I love it. But like the fact that you can do ministry stress-free because of what you have over here.
Yeah.
I could go coach baseball stress-free, which was my ministry, you know, with those kids. Right. You know, because I have what I had going on over here. So options are like a huge thing, you know, giving the options, all that stuff. But the second thing is, even from a business perspective, it's actually easier to run a big business. That's what people don't get. Like at the end of the day, think about it. On the solopreneur side, we know if you quit, it dies. On the big business side, if someone quits tomorrow, okay, use my boy Austin there tomorrow. The business, like my content's not going to stop. You know, the business isn't going to just die tomorrow. I'm going to go bring in Art right there. You know, Art's going to replace him and we're going to be in. And the videos will keep chugging along, right? There's somebody who's going to step in and we're going to find somebody new, right? It may not be immediate, but somebody will step in, fill the role because we have other people who know the role at that point. You know, we have so many sales guys. If the sales guys quit, nobody's going to notice. Like, we're just going to keep going because we have a big business. Now, when you're in the middle ground, let's just say you have a lean team of 4. Your sales guy quits. You have one sales guy.
Yeah.
The whole business is in chaos now because now somebody who's probably not good at sales is going to have to go do it full time. because it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe you're going to have to do it full-time, and now you can't do this, or you're working now 16 hours a day because you're doing two full-time jobs. And you got to go higher. So it's really 3. You're doing HR, your normal business, your sales, and you're hoping you're as good as that person. Or your marketing person quits. Now you're screwed. Like you have to go. So
no, that's really nobody. I haven't heard that.
But that's the truth.
When it gets bigger, it gets easier.
It does.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, for some people, that means more risk or more stress. But to me, it gets easier. The fact that I'm literally gone like every month. You know, I'm golfing, I'm filming, I'm going on vacation, I don't even know what I do half the time. But like I'm not here like that often.
Yeah.
And things still run. Like I show up here, there's more people here than when I left. I'm like, where do these people come from? Like, what's that guy's name? And somebody hired him. You know, I didn't hire him, but that's what happens when you have a big business.
Yeah.
You have somebody you trust that knows the needs of the business. They're going to go hire who's needed, and, you know, the business grows.
It's fire.
It's crazy.
Future Flipper. We're going to have Future Business. That's the next book.
Well, Future Flipper's not a thing anymore. Okay, it's Wealthy Investor.
Well, the book.
Oh, the book. Yeah.
Future Business. Like, that's something because you can now project.
Yeah. So I actually, you know, I'll plug my current book, you know, The Wealthy Way, right here. Here we go, guys. Wealthy Way. You know, so I wrote this back in December, and it's doing great. It's already got, I don't know, like 750 reviews I saw.
Nice.
Still constantly rated in the top. So super excited about this, but I am working on now my 3rd book already. And I don't want to reveal the title or anything like that, but it may go in line with what you just said. You know, just about, man, like the question I get is, okay, how do I either start or grow my business?
Yep.
And it's like, well, there's a lot that goes into it. And so, you know, in that book, we're going to be making the case for different types of businesses, right? Like, hey, all right, you got a normal W-2? Let's talk about a side hustle, okay? You're going to keep your job and you want a side hustle. That actually is the best case scenario for some people. I'm not over here saying everyone needs to quit their job.
Right.
You know, like W-2 and side hustle for some people is
great.
The best choice. Being a full-blown entrepreneur, you starting your own thing, is the best choice for some people. Being an intrapreneur, somebody who's in the business and taking accountability, like a Javi or a Brian Davila or a Justin, like
creating within the business.
Yeah, like having a very authoritative role and like treating the business as your own. That's for a lot of people, you know. So like, there's all levels of like being successful in business, being what we would call a wealthy entrepreneur. You know, there's a lot that goes into it.
That's really good. I'm looking forward to it. Are you sitting at a laptop just tick, 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 or are you doing an interview style?
Yeah. So, you know, with The Wealthy Way, I had a ghostwriting team with me. I don't even know if ghostwriting is the best word, but like, you know, a team helping me write it.
Yeah.
You know, with Flip Your Future, I did that. I wrote the whole thing. I was like, dang, that was hard. And, you know, that was 5-6 years ago. And then so when The Wealthy Way came, I was like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to figure this out. But by then, my business skills had evolved so much that after 5 years, I had learned, I was like, actually, like, I'm not even the best person to do this. Why don't I delegate it out?
There's people good at this.
There's people who are professional writers who
they'll make you sound better.
They're going to make the book way better than I could make the book. We're going to get all the concepts that I know need to be in the book, and they're going to say it in a way better way than if I'm just sitting there like, freaking, I don't know what I'm doing. Boom, 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 boom. You know, one of the problems with Flip Your Future was, and it's not a problem. There were people who loved it. They're like, dude, it's just so straight to the point. It's just like, boom, 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 information. There's no fluff. And that's my style if you know me in person. I'm just like, bro, get to the point. What are we talking about here? Boom, boom, boom. Wealthy Way doesn't have fluff. It has stories.
Yep.
It has things that help you relate to what, you know, I'm trying to teach you and what I had to go through. And like, people love it. You know, when you tell stories, this is a huge tip for creating content. Like, storytelling becomes so important.
Yep.
And I didn't know that 5 years ago. I was just like, yeah, so here's how you flip a house. Just do it. There was like no stories at all. Now I realize, like, you want somebody to do something, they got to first like visualize like actually what that is like. And then if they can do that, then they believe. Then they get the information that they need.
A framework of communication that I've gotten from Pastor Jabin. He said it's state, illustrate, apply. So if you have a bar or a one-liner, or you have like a thought or a theory, what is it? State it. Just say it, what it is. Do what you can to make that as, pain equals progress. That's the state.
Yeah.
The application. Then, if you go to the gym, now we're or the illustration.
Yeah, we're illustrating.
If you go to the gym, you're going to start to feel the pain, and you're going to be sore, but you're growing, you're building muscle. And so what's the application? The application is, I know when I'm experiencing pain or whatever. So if you ever hear my sermons, and if you have that framework, you'll see that I'll say something, illustrate it, and then bring it back to how that's applied, or how that works for us.
Yeah.
It's honestly a content format too. Like, that hook, content, and then call to action. It's kind of like the same idea, but in regards to storytelling, that piece is important and
super important.
And honestly, the goal is that you have a handful of these stories.
Yeah.
And over time, the more you tell them, the more, the more foundational they become to, like, every time you show up on a podcast, you go back to it. And not everyone's watching every video you make or every interview you're on, but you have dialed that in. Something I've seen like Sean do really well is his story about Sonia, his wife who has chronic illness, and like he was I could restate it.
Yeah.
Gary Vee, they have their stories. Like, there is something so powerful. We remember stories, and so I think that's good. It's not fluff if you're intentional about the story actually enhancing what it is you're stating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was talking with my writing team about the book this week, actually. And one thing they were saying, I was like, hey, it's great. We did a great job with Wealthy Way and the stories there. And they're like, we're going to obviously tell more stories about you, but they're like, one thing we want to do is get more stories from your community. And
that's really good.
Yeah, they're like, because you have so many success stories, people from zero to millionaire, people who quit their job, people who have been able to go have freedom to do other stuff now because of the things they've learned. And they're like, we want to interview those people and put them in the book as well.
Awesome.
And I was like, yeah. I didn't think of, I would have never thought of that. Yeah. I would have just started writing. I'd have been like, okay, here's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, no, let's do that. That's great. Because now some people may not relate to me anymore. They're like, well, yeah, whatever. He could do it. But then you hear a story of somebody that was just like them not long ago.
Right.
And now they're doing it. And you're like, wow, okay. If so-and-so can do it,
it
I
validates that information you're trying to give to a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think that's so important with creating content, right? Is like mastering your story. One thing one of the first principles we teach at Wealthy Creator is master your story. And what that means is you got to master like what your message is, how you got there, how you came to believe that message. And, you got to be able to tell it in 1 minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever, like, the designated time is for that story. You got to be able to master telling it. I could tell everyone who's followed me for any kind of period of time knows I flipped couches, I maxed out my credit cards, I flipped my first house, like they understand the story. I played baseball.
Yeah. It's powerful.
Yeah. That was the 3 minute, or that was like the 15-second version.
Right. No, but like what's crazy is people say hi to you for the first time, and even though they're saying hi to you for the first time, they feel like they know you because they know your story.
Yeah. So, and that's the power of social media for everyone who's listening to this. Like, imagine, you start telling your story, and these people start following you. They understand you. They resonate with you. You've never met them before. You've never seen them. You have no idea they're watching you, right? Like, you can't see who's seeing every view, you get.
100.
And so you just never know who's watching you. I was in Miami yesterday. I was telling you guys, when I was at the airport, I was waiting for my ride at the thing. Guy like pulls up next to me. I'm thinking it's my ride. And he's like, "What's up, Ryan?" I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "I'll see you at WealthCon next month." I was like, "That's right. I will see you there." And, that was like in the morning. Then, whatever. I go to Cardone's office and we film and all the stuff. Then I go golf with, 2 people for a golf with Ryan, just 2 people in Miami, never met before, but they had seen my stuff. And one was actually an ex professional golfer.
Wow.
And he's like, dude, I really resonate with your story because I went through it of being a minor league golfer and, grinding so hard to make it. Like, he resonated with the story. And then now we're golfing, right?
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then we were eating dinner before I flew out. And then the waiter was like, he just keeps looking at me. And, like, I had a hat on and stuff, so that's my version of a disguise.
Call it good.
Just taking
Like
my hair out of
the
it.
Netflix show You. That's what he would do.
Yeah.
Just murder somebody, hat.
That's me. When I'm trying to be low key, I just wear a hat. And he's like, I thought I didn't hear him properly because he kind of had an accent, and he was like, aren't you influential? That was what he said. I was cracking up. I was like,
what a pure way to say it, though.
yeah. He's like, aren't you influential? I was like, nobody has ever said that. Like, it would all, if you didn't know, they'd be like, I think I've seen you like on TikTok or social media or something. He's like, aren't you influential? And I was like, yeah.
That's cool. Did anybody help you crafting those things, or why did you know that it's something you should always repeat or bring up? Like those
stories?
Yeah.
I mean, Russell Brunson talked about it a lot in Expert Secrets and stuff. And so I resonate. I was like, okay. And I just thought about how he sold me into his thing. And he told the story of like, how he had a potato gun and he couldn't sell anything. And, he bought, like, I kind of know his story. I haven't listened to it enough times, but, he told his wife he sucked. And then eventually the funnel started making money. And, yeah, at that point, I had a story. I mean, I had like so many things happen in my life that made me very unique. And it's like nobody has my story. There's no guys who grinded it out for 8 seasons playing minor league baseball, who then started flipping homes while they were playing, who then started making content and other businesses and, just all the crap that I do now. It's just like I'm unique and everyone else is unique. You're unique. How many pastors are on social media who are experts, first and foremost, at creating content?
Yeah.
Like that's what you did before you became a Bible expert.
Yeah. I'm a Bible expert, everybody.
That's what I'm gonna call you. Yeah. That's like pastor, Bible expert.
Yeah. No, man. I think it's really important to lean into the story because stories stick.
Stories stick. Hey, why are pastors so good at phrases?
I mean, I would. That's a general statement. There's some pastors I think aren't the best at communicating. I would say, but
that makes it hard to be a pastor.
No, yeah. I think it's part of it is I get to glean from an incredible communicator and learn from I think one of the best. In Pastor Jabin, and so, when I started preaching, I realized how much I needed to obsess around how I say something. Yeah. And, the pendulum swings, there's, it's gone one way where it's like, dude, you don't have to be Dr. Seuss. We're not trying to paint a picture every time you list out something that spells out an acronym or something. But what is one way that it can help and stick? And a lot of times alliteration would do that, when you purpose and pain, it just sticks. Yeah. I asked the question a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about fruit and like, what's the fruit of your life? And we say that we are followers of Christ, but it doesn't come out in our actions. And so how can I phrase that in a way? It's does your confession line up with your conduct? And it just gets people to think, it gets a response and you let it sit. And then it was just a streamlined way of, so I say,
so you're only an alliteration guy.
I mean, if it makes sense, I never try to force it, but there is something about, I think, obsessing around how something is said just to make sure. And I'm not trying to say nothing new. Like that's the thing. Nothing is new under the sun, but there is new ways that it could be said, or a fresh way, or even saying an old thing.
I'm actually reading Ecclesiastes right now.
Hey, that's a good one.
It's nothing new under the sun.
There you go.
Did you know it's from there?
Yeah.
All right, good. Just making sure.
I'm not the kind of guy that I'm a Bible expert.
Know.
I'm a Bible expert, but I don't know. A lot of times I don't know exactly where. I know that I know that's Ecclesiastes, but I'll usually say the Bible says. Like, hey, can you pray for me for I got this thing. I'm like, all right, let's declare God's word. I'm usually not like, Titus chapter 3 verse 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually
That's
like
the next level.
Yeah, right. And some people, I don't know if I have a photographic memory like that, but I know it's in there.
Trust me, bro.
Yeah, you can Google it.
How did you become a pastor? You know, like what led you down that path?
Yeah, you know what's funny is at first when I first gave my life to Christ and got saved, this was 2011. I kind of just like started serving. I started using my gifts for the kingdom, like, you know, taking photos and video in church. I was actually serving under Sean Cannell, and
that's how you guys met.
yeah, and
Okay.
he was the marketing director at the time, and then I kind of got hired as an associate, and then he moved and I assumed the role as a creative director. But I would say like the calling of pastoral leadership and pastoring people came from that scripture I brought up earlier in the conversation about when Jesus looked out and compassion filled his heart. I felt it was like, Omar, it was a prayer I made. I said, God, give me the compassion that Jesus had, that I can see people beyond what, you know, is at face value, and I could still feel something. And mixing that moment that I had with someone who discipled me in biblical interpretation. His name is Daniel Fernandez. He was the youth pastor at the time. And he just, for 7 Mondays, he was like 6 a.m. Monday at Starbucks. For the next 7 Mondays, I'm going to teach you how to interpret scripture. And he walked me through the whole flow, and it changed my life. I read the Bible, and this is 4 or 5 years of me after being saved. So it's almost like I got recalled, or I mean, you're not going to get saved twice, but like it's almost like I got baptized into the calling, and I think it just came from a place of illuminating things. And so I started, you know, it wasn't like, it's kind of like when you say, I never read a book on pastoring people. I never went to college. People are like, dude, how do you become a pastor? I'm like, I don't even know if I have that framework, because all I did was shepherd. I cared. And I wasn't doing it because I never had a title, you know. For majority of the time, I didn't have a title. And
the Bible doesn't have like a checklist,
right? No, yeah. And then when at the end of Matthew, when Jesus says, you know, go and make disciples, he left it up to our interpretation.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and that's why there's so many ways that you can do that. And that's why it's a beautiful thing to see the diversity of church and the different ways we can reach the world. However, I just started, you know, overseeing small groups.
Yeah.
And I think the fruit of that, the consistency, and then, you know, the Pastor Javen talked with the board, and they all agreed. It was, so I operated in the role, and that's what it should be. That's what's unfortunate about people who do go to college or do get the certification, and then they get commissioned into that office. Unfortunately, sometimes without the heart, without the actual call, you just thought it was a good idea. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like that, I'm not here to judge or anything. I just, there's sometimes that is a situation that pans out. And so, yeah, mine is unique in nature. I know there's certain denominations that have different things that you need to, like one guy you had me golf with, a friend, and it was like, had to be a year and a half ago. I just got ordained. Maybe.
I made you golf with them? How do I make people golf?
You're like, hey, you guys are sitting together. You're both pastors. That was or he was on track. And and you know, I was just talking because I come from.
We were doing a golf with Ryan Day together.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
But he's an old friend of yours. I don't know. Sorry,
man. I'm trying to.
Dang,
I can't remember.
Hopefully he's not watching. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't
but
remember.
You know, he was like asking me what I did to become a pastor, and I just told him kind of like that backstory. I just started caring for people, oversaw small groups in community.
Oh, you know what? You might be talking about my friend Chris.
Probably.
Big beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was in the process, and he was like,
he's in the process. He's now on staff.
Yeah.
Yep. He's at Hope.
I had to write this thesis. I had to present it in front of a thing.
Let me tell you, Chris could not do anything in college. That's where we met. We met in college, and like he dropped out because he just didn't go to class. He was terrible. And that's how I know God is real.
Because he do it.
He figured out how to write a thesis, and I'm like, no way.
And I think present it in front of a board.
Yeah.
And then
he couldn't do that if he tried.
Yeah.
Only through the power of God could he have did that.
That's really cool.
Not a diss to him, but all glory to God.
He is a testament of God's faithfulness.
He is 1,000% a testament.
Hey, man, when I look at you, you remind me I can do it.
That's what I tell people all the time with Brian Davila. I'm like, if Brian Davila could get 100,000 followers, you can too.
That's funny, dude. But yeah, I mean, but it's a beautiful thing. You know, now I get the honor to communicate on the weekends occasionally. And,
you're great. I've seen you speak many times.
Yeah,
that's great.
You know, you back to like when that me doing what I do during the week, it affords me the ability to oversee groups in a cool way. Dude, we have over 90 small group leaders. Our church isn't massive.
Yeah.
And most churches that would be bigger than us wouldn't have like a leadership small group culture like that. But it just, I would just, from a place of overflow, I was able to nurture and lead that ministry. And it's been really cool to see it be really a part of the DNA of the church.
Yeah. Well, I think like this goes back to content as well. What we were talking about, like, oh man, I got to be like so qualified and I got to do all this stuff. And it's like, nah, I was actually hyping up our small group leaders at Wealthy Kingdom. For those who don't know, we have a Christian entrepreneurship group called Wealthy Kingdom. And so we had like 30 plus people who are already like committed to being small group leaders across the country.
Wow.
So we're going to launch these Bible studies just everywhere. We've only been going for a month, we're rolling. And I was like, look, a lot of you guys probably don't feel like you're qualified to do this. You might, I'm pretty sure like most of you never went to seminary school. Most of you probably have never led a Bible study. You probably feel like, man, do I got to know all the answers? If somebody asks me a difficult question, what do I do, right? And I was like, but here's the thing, guys. God, didn't just only pick qualified people. He just called people. Mm-hmm. Like, he didn't go for nobody was qualified. He was like, you're called. So when you're called, you just have to go. And there's no other thing about it.
Yeah, there's that saying that God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
There it is.
Yeah.
There's another saying.
Yeah. But no, it's real. Like a lot of people's hang up, even when we ask people, we invite our church to, consider leading a group. That's the first thing. Dang, I don't know enough Bible. There are some foundational things that, yes, we should be non-negotiable. But as far as like your, spiritual ascension and knowledge, the Bible says knowledge just puffs up. So I would even if you memorized the Bible from cover to cover, it honestly doesn't mean much. It's still, it still could be void of what we're really called to do, which is love God, love people.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it simple.
Matthew 22, I think.
Bang.
I think.
I'm sure it's there too.
I'm sure it's there.
Says the Bible expert.
Someone fact check me. Put the B-roll on here. I think it's Matthew 22, 18 through 20, if I had to guess. Just guessing.
Boils it down.
Okay. But nonetheless, I think, obviously we're talking about faith, but like the same thing is applicable to just what we're talking about with social media and everything else. Like, you're not going to be qualified because obviously if you were, you'd be Omar, you'd be me, like you'd have already done it, right? And then even then I feel like I'm still not even qualified. I'm like, well, I don't have 1 million subscribers yet, like I got to get there, but even then Mr. Beast has 100 million. You just end up playing the comparison game, right? And you're like, no, actually I am qualified. I've done some amazing things to this point. You've done some amazing things to this point. As long as you're further ahead in your journey than somebody else, they have something to learn.
100. It's funny, I went to 10X for here in Vegas a couple months ago, and Tom Brady was being interviewed. What's funny? Like the 10X conference, it's a big video podcast on stage.
Yeah.
But no, Tom Brady signed a gnarly deal with like Fox.
Like $35 million a year.
Yeah, he's gonna make more talking for a couple hours on a Sunday than suiting up, putting his body on the line. Yeah, training years and years, beating on his body. And that's just something that, it's almost like a principle is most of the time we'll spend most of our life being underpaid. And there are instances where later you'll be overpaid. Mm-hmm. And you have to go through those underpaid seasons where you feel like, like this doesn't make sense, counting the costs, all these things. But you just do that over time. And then over time, it's just all it takes is it could be one deal. You know? And it's crazy. And he actually was saying how, like, I think out of all the years I played football, this is more influential because now my voice is going to be in the ears of America.
Yeah.
And he doesn't take that lightly, but it's
social media.
Yeah. 100.
Well, and that's also too, I've thought about that a lot with my baseball career, and Grant was interviewing me on his podcast, and he's like, wow, it's a blessing that you didn't make it, right? Because you have this now. And he's like, you're making a lot more money than you would have made over there, and you can do it forever. And it's like, yeah. And you just think about it and you're like, yeah, if let's just say theoretically I did, continue playing baseball and I dominated and it was enough to do really well. It's like, man, I'm definitely not like impacting people at the way I'm impacting them now. Like
right.
I'm just entertaining people. Like I'm just playing a game and like, I could make money and then impact people that way. But like what I do here right now is far more impactful than what I could have ever did playing baseball, which is what Tom is basically saying.
Right. Question for you, and there's no wrong answer. Is professional sports jaded or fixed sometimes?
Jaded or fixed? What do you mean?
Like, sometimes I watch series go to game 7.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have gone to game 7.
So are you saying like it's just scripted, essentially?
Yeah, I mean.
No, I mean, I think that everything's legit. I think that conspiracy theory wise.
Because everything's a business. I understand more games equals.
Yeah. I think conspiracy wise, you do see it like in the NBA, like the refs start to give the other team more calls to keep it close. Like that always happens. I think that, I don't know, certain leagues or certain things. I mean, obviously in the minor leagues, none of that stuff happened. Like nobody cared. But I don't know. I think there's definitely an element to how they train the referees and because it's not the players. That I know.
Right.
Like I know the players are not letting up unless they actually were like getting paid or something. But like in all things, you're not letting up. You're just playing because, I'm trying to improve my stats. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to I'm not going to just go miss shots and strike out for no reason. So yeah, I don't think the players do anything, but I for sure think the umpires and referees and things can manipulate.
That's good to know. Just wanted to know your thoughts. Your opinion. Random.
That is
as
random.
A former athletic. Shout out to the A's coming out.
Yeah. First off, I'm still an athlete. Okay?
Yeah, there you are. You're professional. You're a professional golfer too.
I didn't want to bring it up, but you did. Okay. I am a professional golfer.
I'm a Bible expert. You're a professional golfer.
Yes, of course. But bro, I think it's been great. Friendship, everything that you've been able to accomplish. I'm excited to see what you do on this next stage. Where can people find out more about you and your business and everything else?
Yeah, it's Instagram's a good place to find me, where I post encouraging content to really push you to be able to make more videos and just lean into what you want to do. If you need any technical side of help, free help is on Think Media. It's a YouTube channel. Just search Think Media. And if you want to go deeper on things, I started a new company called thevideodepartment.co.
There we go.
Just trying to help people get started and grow and get over the technical side of things. But more than anything, just if you have any questions, reach out. I'm active in the DMs.
There we go, baby.
Yeah.
He responded to mine many years ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm where I'm at. So check him out.
There you go.
Check him out. Anyways, guys, appreciate you for being on this episode. Make sure you leave a review. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. Thanks for making it to the end. The good news is I've got another one that I know you're going to like, and all you got to do is click it right here. As you start to grow more wealth, time becomes more valuable. You'll always pay to shortcut. If you start hanging out where rich people hang out, like WealthCon, people who are wealthy are going to be there.
Anybody who's an expert in any field, they're like 1 or 2 phone calls away. So we're able to learn best practices from all of these great entrepreneurs